Welcome to the Flynn Brothers Podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Jimmy. Today's big idea. Great actor, movie star, or both. The older brother strikes back.
This time, I've put together a list of 10 Hollywood stars, and I want my brother to determine if they are skilled thespians, pure charisma, or a little bit of both.
It's all coming up. But first, here's the Solons.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
All right, folks, we've decided to bring back a crowd favorite. And by that, I mean one person told us they liked it. And we're going to play great actor, movie star, or both. So we did this not too long ago. We take Hollywood fixtures, solid citizens of the industry, and we try to decide, what are they? Are they a great actor? Are they a movie star? Do they got a little both going on? And when you did the game, buddy, this is something that we talked about, and I really liked that you had brought it to the podcast for discussion.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite games that we play at home. As I did last time, I encourage our listeners to play at home as well. As I'm answering, as you're asking, please shout out your answers in the car or wherever you may be.
That's right. And as you were doing it, and after we had wrapped it, I couldn't get it out of my head that there were some other actors I would have liked. And, I liked some of your choices, but I quibbled with some of the things that you made. So we're thinking of this sort of in the way I conceive of it as this is the sequel. You've established the world, you've shown people what is possible. I'm coming in, I'm getting a bigger budget. I think I'm bringing in a few bigger names. I thought maybe some of your names, maybe they weren't so hot anymore. Maybe some of them were ancient history. The kids, they don't know anything about them. So I thought I'm going to choose some really, I think, current and huge name stars.
Were there particular names I listed that bothered you? I'm curious.
Well, I would say that Kirsten Stewart and Charlize Theron, Melissa McCarthy, all lovely ladies and very talented.
You just named three women right off the bat. You're an immediate chauvinist.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're not so hot anymore. Maybe they're not so big as they once were, although they all did burn brightly.
Let me ask you this. Is there a single lady on your list?
Yes.
All right. Okay, good. 2 out of 10. I don't know, ladies. What do we think of the diversity requirements here?
Listen, this is not, I'm not being subjected to the Bechdel test here. And then the ancient ones, of course, were Jimmy Stewart and Sean Connery.
Well, those are fun. I
enjoyed,
like to do a mix. You got to do a mix of, part of the game is you do a mix of old and new. You do a mix of make the argument, make the case for him, even if it seems like a slam dunk. You have this, you're a man with a simple mind. And you can look at things very simply. It's one of your great gifts.
Yeah.
But other times you can lack in nuance. And so that was an exercise that, last time where we tried to kind of stretch our muscles and think a little more complex. And I will exhibit that today, as I assume you will, in asking and thinking of these names. Is that right?
I think of these as big box office.
Okay, all right.
I'm going box office.
Well, this sounds like they're all
sequel.
Just going to be movie stars. Then, if it's all box office, I mean, what is the exercise here? I went with a diverse slate of actors, but I'm going to trust you.
It tended toward movie star, I'd say.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust your instincts. You're striking back, and I'm very excited. I love playing this game. Again, no harm, no foul. Sorry, I called you simple-minded and a chauvinist within the first 2 minutes.
It feels perhaps as though you're a bit insecure, and I'm steering the ship on this one. But here we go. So this is a spectrum for the people who perhaps didn't catch a fantastic prior episode. You should definitely do that. But the spectrum is, on one hand, you have Paul Giamatti, who is a great actor, but not a movie star. You wouldn't call him a movie star, even though he stars in movies. Even though, occasionally he can be the lead in a movie, you're not thinking of him as a movie star. Your movie star, on the other hand, is somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, that's a movie star. But what you wouldn't necessarily say that he's a great actor. A passable actor, a good actor, perfect in certain roles? Absolutely, but not a great actor.
He's on this semi-new show on Netflix called Fubar, and every time I see it pop up on my Netflix feed with his face next to it, I always do an impression and go, Fubar.
Yes.
Cool.
Very
cool of me to do.
Very cool. I am sure that your fiance loves
Yes,
it every
yeah,
time it happens.
She finds it very humorous.
Okay. So you're thinking about it's a spectrum. I'm also going to pivot to a different type. It's a pie chart. I think it's a pie.
Okay, all
and,
right.
you know,
I couldn't help but notice you named two men right off the bat. But okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Viola Davis and Meryl Streep.
Oh, very good. All right, very good. Very
the
good.
Flynn
Very
Brothers
good.
podcast there.
Very good.
You know, inclusive of all genders. And another thing that I wrinkle, some nuance, if you will, that I'd like to add to the game is that they can be a neither. They can be a could be this one day,
all right.
or they could be a used to be or a has been.
That was the Will Smith case last episode where he was a movie star and now is a disgraced former movie star. I see. All right, very good.
Very good.
Neither a could be and a was once upon a time. Okay, very
yes.
good.
So I'm going to start with these are names that I think are big. I don't really know necessarily how to think of them, though.
Okay.
So the first two, you know, these aren't. I'm not going to get
You're not going to throw two at me.
No.
Okay,
But I'm just
all
sort
right,
of
all right.
setting the table here for the audience
All right.
expectations. All right. So I'm not going with a big name off the bat.
Okay.
We're going to build to the big
Let's
names.
ease ourselves
That's
into the
right.
jacuzzi, right? No
it.
cannonballs, right?
That's it. And the first into the jacuzzi is Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac, very good one. You know, boy, great actor, movie star, or both. He's kind of a little of both, but not a lot of both. I think he's a little overrated as a movie star, but I think he's a little underrated as an actor. We just saw him in Frankenstein, and he's doing this, and he admits this in interviews, was kind of the style. It's a very over-the-top performance. It's almost this telenovela, high drama of the time period. He's playing this egomaniacal Dr. Frankenstein, and it's a very good performance. And then you kind of have the performances in these kind of smaller movies. This big breakout movie, Inside Llewyn Davis. It's a very restrained performance. It was kind of what launched him and, got him into the Star Wars movie, where he's solid good in the Star Wars movies, but the Star Wars movies themselves aren't that great. So there was this kind of like, his star power is going to he is kind of the guy with the most juice other than, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, the people who had been in the series prior. He was kind of the guy who was going to carry these, right, with the unknowns, Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. But I don't know. I just never felt he had, they were trying to make him fill Han Solo's, Harrison Ford shoes, and he just never was able to do that. So I just think as a movie star, he hasn't quite hit it. I do think he's a very good actor. Yeah. I don't know if he's a great actor. I just I would say my excitement is somewhat limited when I know he's in something, but I do like seeing him on screen.
I think you made a good point I think he's like one of those, they did this a lot where they would pull somebody from the indie world and throw them into a multi-$100 million blockbuster. And they do this with directors as well. And sometimes it's just like the skills that it takes to make a smaller movie, a more intimate movie, are not the same skills that it makes to bring to life something that's filmed on a green screened soundstage. I think a lot of the issue with the Star Wars movies is just some of the writing of it and the rehashing of the old stuff. But I think his look was right on for those movies. The movie that I think of him most in is Ex Machina.
I was just going to say, probably my favorite performance as well.
Definitely. And also very restrained. He also has a very fascinating look in that. And you're given really juicy source material. He's like this boxing billionaire recluse who builds AI robots, which I think is that's fascinating. So I think he's somebody who, later on in his career, he's got the name recognition now because of the Star Wars that he could do. And in this Frankenstein direction, I think would be a very cool way for him to go. Working with big directors, doing big movies, but having a little bit more of an artistic humoristic bent to them.
He was in A Most Violent Year, which was a pretty good performance. But again, he's an actor who sort of built his reputation on restraint, and very restrained choices, which is kind of movie star-ish, right? You know, Harrison Ford doesn't give you a lot. Bruce Willis doesn't give you a lot. Like, right, a lot of big name movie stars don't go over the top, don't press very much. So he's a very restrained performer, I find. So it is interesting when he's in a Frankenstein type movie where he has to be big and he has to do the accent and you know, beat up the monster and, you know, do these sorts of things. So yeah, I can certainly not say neither because he is just too famous and he is too talented. But I would probably just say he's a little great. And he's a little bit of a movie star, but I don't think anyone, if he's opening a movie and it's just coasting on his star power, you know, it's not going to make like $50-75 million opening weekend. It's not going to, you know, dominate all the headlines. And I just don't think that he could get nominated. I would be surprised if he ever won like an Academy Award. And I think in terms of his potential, he's hit his potential. I don't think it's a question of could be or someday. Like, I think he's a very capable actor. He'll probably get nominated at some point, but I just kind of think he's kind of a high floor, low ceiling guy. Like, he's always solid when he shows up, but I don't know the tremendous heights he can really hit.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'd be interested to see the next movies that he kind of picks.
I like him, though, overall.
Yeah.
I like a handful. We named a handful of his movies. I like his performance, so yeah.
All right, we'll move on now to another guy who I think is sort of in this same world, Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. He is not a movie star, but he's a pretty good actor. I would say great actor is where I would lean toward. This is the other difficult thing with franchise movies. I'm so happy he's made so much money from the Marvel movies. And to be honest, he gives a pretty good performance in that first Avengers movie. You know, you watch it kind of years later and the costumes look like Halloween costumes and it just feels very, very dated. It was kind of the prototype for the Marvel movies moving forward. But he gives a very good, somewhat soulful performance in that first one. You know, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry. Punches alien out of the sky. So... You know, we loved him in Task. We love Task. We like Zodiac, even though in the previous episode I mixed them up with Jake Gyllenhaal. And you know, the kids are all right. He's good in that. I'm spacing on. I'll think of other of his movies. But there's some performances like Poor Things or what was the Mickey 17 where he'll kind of try to go big, and it just doesn't really work for me. I like him more restrained. I think he's a very good actor when he's in very restrained, doing more subtle work. But he's very believable. I think he lends a lot of realism, particularly in Task. You know, we talked about that in a prior episode, just his kind of grizzledness and believability as this kind of FBI working stiff. But I don't know. I think, I can't really think of any movie star moments I've ever seen him, but I always watch him and I think, man, he's a pretty great actor. So yeah, I would say kind of good to great, but I would say at his best, he's a great actor. So I would say Mark Ruffalo, great actor.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think both of them, the reason why I kind of grouped them together is because they got sucked up with Oscar Isaac gets sucked up into Star Wars, and then Ruffalo gets sucked up into the Avengers during what is kind of your prime years as an actor.
Mid 30s, mid 40s, into your 50s, yeah.
And it's like it's almost like Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, where it's like, well, you know, how do you say no to that?
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, well, I would have really liked to see what you were kind of doing, what it would have been like you sort of being on your own. So now that I think the real heyday of these Avengers and Star Wars stuff is sort of crested, these are two guys that I'm really interested to see kind of what they have, because I think they've shown some really interesting stuff with Task and with Frankenstein, like you mentioned, and they've done stuff earlier in their careers that was cool as well. So, you know, I think I don't think it's too out of the believable range to see them finding like a good project, a good director, and, you know, maybe bringing home a gold statue or two.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You can see these alternate trajectories for their career, and a lot of it is they're just a victim of the business they're currently in. You know, I'd be curious to see them like in 70s movies, like with palled up and paired up with those sort of 70s directors. But yeah, I don't know. I think like Oscar Isaac, there's kind of a ceiling on Mark Ruffalo. Spotlight is another movie he's very good in that I was just remembering. But yeah, again, like they both really are actors of restraint, and they're almost more reactive than active, and can be very watchable doing very little. So I do think it's a good way to have a career. It's a good way to play a lot of roles and be a leading man or kind of a supporting actor. But yeah, I do think there is a ceiling on it in terms of you becoming a movie star. You're just kind of missing that extra essence.
Yeah. I would watch them in a moody drama where they play brothers.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that'd be a good one. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
All right, we're cranking up now into a little bit more star power here. I think this is a man who, many said was in the picture of the year, Michael B. Jordan. Long pause.
Yeah, I don't want to get into trouble. I know a lot of people like Michael B. Jordan.
Well, there's a way that you can do this.
I think he is close to and easily can be a movie star.
Yeah.
I think he is. If he is not already, I think he's very close to it. It'll kind of depend how sort of Sinners ages. Sinners does in the award conversation. I think he was very good in Sinners. There was a lot made about how different the performances of the two twins were. They were such distinct characters. I got to see the movie again. I only saw it once. I did not feel like they were super distinct performances. This is not to discount what he has done. I mean, the acting and the mental gymnastics you need to do to play both twins, to command a movie of that size. He's very cool in the movie. You'd be hard pressed to find a gal in the world who does not find him, to be the most desirable actor in Hollywood. And even as a fella, I can appreciate Michael B. Jordan. As an actor, my understanding is his most critically acclaimed film, I have actually not seen, Fruitvale Station, which was, based on real events. I have not seen that, so I think that's unfair for me to criticize acting too much. I will say in Black Panther, where again he kind of was establishing that sort of movie star persona, which I think he does kind of have a movie star persona. He dated Lori Harvey, and he wears really cool outfits, and he looks great on the red carpet, and he is somewhat private about his life, kind of like Leo, where we don't know a ton about him.
But he's there at NBA All-Star
Yes,
weekend.
but he's always there. I will say he does come across as a little corny, almost like LeBron does. I mean, they're kind of like vaguely the same age. And I think the Black Panther performance on behalf of Michael B. Jordan, it's like 10% corny, just in contrast to Chadwick Boseman's performance is so regal and badass, and he's the hero. And there's just some elements of like the Michael B. Jordan performance that, to me, in contrast to the Chadwick Boseman performance, come across as a little corny or a little try-hard, or just like a little sophomoric, right? He just kind of, in that movie, to me, is being sort of outclassed as an actor. However, now in Sinners, I mean, he's very good in Sinners. It's one of the biggest movies of the year, and he plays two roles in it, and they're both the lead roles. He is like great in action scenes. He's pretty great in dramatic scenes. He's good in I'm getting hot under the collar sex scenes. And he's like, I don't know how funny he is. I don't know that he has that kind of like Harrison Ford, Bruce Willis, like killer kind of dry one-liner ability. I don't know how good he is at that. But I do think Michael B. Jordan could be a movie star. I think Sinners has pushed him very close into that direction. I think maybe this, in hindsight, will show us that he's a movie star. He maybe needs one more. I don't personally believe he's a great actor, but I do think he leans more movie star, and I think is on his way there and can get there as a movie star.
Yeah, I think he's a movie star would be the way that I would say that he falls on this spectrum, and pretty definitively so. I think the main thing that he has going for him that you need as a movie star is he looks great up there. He looks really fantastic when he's up on screen. In Creed, it's really impressive to do like a boxing movie and be pulling off that sort of thing. So he, I think, has some chops. I think he really wants it. Like, I think there is that desire for him. I think in terms of him, to your point, where there's a little bit of the corniness feel about him, and every movie star plays themselves, and every movie star needs to be ineffably cool, and so that's kind of maybe the one little wrinkle there is the.
I don't know how cool he is. I don't know that he's super cool. I don't know that I find him super cool.
I mean, he's certainly extremely cool. Like, he's probably in the top 1% of cool people worldwide. But if you're going to be a movie star, you got to be the 0.0000001.
Here's the thing, and here's the connection I'll draw. There are people less attractive, in less good a shape, that are more cool than Michael B. Jordan. It's sort of like, God help me, I was watching All's Fair with Kim Kardashian. And there's a sex scene with Kim Kardashian. And Kim Kardashian's very beautiful, but the sex scene is not sexy because she doesn't know how to play a sex scene as an actress. The same actor who is with Kim Kardashian is in a sex scene with Sarah Paulson. Now, no one would say Sarah Paulson is more beautiful than Kim Kardashian, but the sex scene with Sarah Paulson was infinite times more sexy than the sex scene with Kim Kardashian. And so I think just because you're handsome, just because you wear cool clothes, just because you have all the moves, it doesn't mean you are cool. I'm kind of struggling to think of someone who I do think is cooler than Michael B. Jordan, who is less good looking and has less, kind of what we typically associate with coolness.
What you describe as Chadwick Boseman.
I guess so. I guess so. I just found him to be cooler. It's, I guess, everyone has a different definition of cool. But yeah, to me, I think LeBron's super cool, but LeBron's super, super corny. Yeah. Like, he does a lot of just chuggy millennial stuff and like, sub-tweeting and just stuff like that. There's certain interview moments with Michael B. Jordan. Again, very cool, handsome, on his way to being a movie star, but I personally don't find him like super, super cool. I'm guessing Michael B. Jordan would not find me very cool. No. So that, it's a wash, right? It's a wash.
I'd say he is a tidal wave that washes you away. I'm not sure that it's a wash. All right. We'll dig into some more movie stars, or are they great actors, right after the break. Okay, I wanted to get a little movie stardom in here, but I'm going to go back into that Isaac Ruffalo pool a little bit as a person who also, I think, has good chops, but maybe got sucked up into a big machine.
Okay.
And that is Scarlett Johansson.
Both.
Yeah.
I think Scarlett is both. Let's talk great actress. Lost in Translation.
Yes.
Marriage Story.
Yes.
Others. I'm not thinking of immediately.
Under the Skin was the one that really blew me away. The A24 feature where she plays an alien that basically preys upon men in the Scottish Highlands.
Weird movie. Honestly, a perfect hand-in-glove movie star, great actress part, because you need someone just imminently watchable, which she is. Yeah, man, she's in all the Marvel movies. She just did the Jurassic Park movie. She's in talks to be in the new Batman movie. I on paper, it feels like she's a movie star. And I do always like seeing her in movies, and I would see a movie if she was in it. Now, on a spectrum of movie stars, I don't know that she's at the top of the list of movie stars, but I do think she qualifies as a movie star.
I think the test would be if you saw them sitting front row at the Oscars, would you be like, "What? Huh?"
No.
And it's
you
would be
not.
Yeah. And I think she has the presence to really stand up. It seems just right when she's, even though, the Jurassic World movie was, very poorly reviewed, and the Avengers movie, like the first time you see her in that Avengers movie and she's Black Widow and she's in the ring and Tony Stark's like, "I want one of those," and a sort of misogynistic line that wouldn't fly these days. But you were like, yeah, dude, wow, she is really leaping off the screen.
She has all these timeless qualities. Her sound of her voice, her beauty, her ability to do drama and comedy. She has this kind of old school, timeless, old Hollywood feel to her.
Yeah.
So, I don't think she's the greatest actor in the world. I don't think she's the biggest movie star in the world, but I do think she's both. And I'm pretty resolute in that. I think that's a very good one.
Okay.
And congrats, Scarlett. That's quite an honor.
Yes. All right. Now we're going to pivot into, I think I'm going to run through 4 here. And these are people who I think were white hot at one time.
Okay.
And then, well, that's an interesting choice. And that's what you're following up the interesting choice with. Okay. So I'm setting you up with those. So I'm going to do 4 here. So we're going to run through 5 in this segment. First up, we have Austin Butler.
Austin Butler. He is Tim Chalamet's kind of the Redford to his Newman, if you will. I would say Austin Butler.
If I may, to just give you the little setup here, we had Once Upon a Time. You're like, whoa, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's playing Tex. He's great. Elvis, not a great movie, but he's awesome in that. Dune, whoa, okay, you got the bald cap on. But then you get the bike riders caught stealing in Eddington. And it's like, wait a second. Huh?
Bike Riders and Caught Stealing were not great films. Eddington was a great film, though his performance was a little too esoteric for me, and his plot line in general, I just don't know how well it fit in the movie, although it was zeitgeisty, which that whole movie was. For Austin Butler, I would say great actor, could be a movie star. I think he's very close to being a movie star. I think Timothée Chalamet is kind of already there. I think Austin Butler's very close. I kind of see them, again, doing the Newman Redford thing for this new era. It's like there's going to be people who like Austin. There's going to be people who like Timothée Chalamet. It's kind of like Leo and Brad Pitt, right? Or, there's been these kind of battles throughout the history of Hollywood. I was most impressed by him undergoing full ego death to play Elvis Presley, and then undergoing another full ego death to play the shaved head sicko in Dune.
Yeah.
That pivot from Elvis to Dune and just how different the characters were, especially considering he was talking in the Elvis voice on the red carpet. I'm so happy to be here. I just thought he would never shake it, and he has shook it.
A little bit. I'd say he's still in the actor realm where for whatever reason your accent is a mix of Texas and Brooklyn.
It's like Ryan Gosling, right?
Yeah.
You just sort of you lose kind of parts of your humanity and just take on all the roles you've played, and then so you're doing interviews and kind of doing like sort of a voice and I don't know, but and it's like, or Johnny Depp, you add a little British to it as well, and it's even though you're from Kentucky, and it's like I just don't like some of these actors, right? Your head gets a little crazy, right? And the fame can do it to you too. But Austin Butler, I would say great actor. I've seen him in enough, even those movies that aren't quite up to snuff. He's still very good in them. I think he's always really worth price of admission. I saw Caught Stealing because he's in it. It's an Aronofsky movie. I like his movies, but I saw Caught Stealing because Austin Butler's in it. And I would say great actor, and I think he easily could be a movie star. He kind of is just missing a great performance and a great lead performance in a super critically acclaimed film. So he's given a supporting performance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, very critically acclaimed, lead performance in Elvis, kind of mixed reception. Dune, again, critically acclaimed, supporting performance. So he just needs that solid, memorable lead performance in a great critically acclaimed movie, and he's just got a partner. Again, what he's been doing, working with Tarantino, working with Aronofsky, like working with these very good directors, Ari Aster, like just keep doing that. And and stay the course, and you'll be both a great actor and a movie star. But you're well on your way. I really like Austin Butler. He's a cool dude.
I'd say he leans more movie star to me right now.
Really? Than actor?
Yeah, because I think he just has like.
Really?
I think in Once Upon a Time, I was like, all right, he's an actor. But then once he hit the hair, once he has all the open shirts, like he's just carrying himself very movie star.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't.
As opposed to I'm a tortured artist, the Giamatti, the other.
Yeah,
sort of
I mean, maybe
lean
you're
a little more movie star.
You're falling victim to his good looks.
Perhaps, but that's one of the things that movie stars do. All right.
Oh, by the way, I thought of someone cooler than Michael B. Jordan who does not have the good looks or trappings of coolness that Michael B. Jordan has.
Go for it.
Mark Ruffalo. And also our producer, Will Slade.
I would love to do a poll.
I think
who
Ruffalo's
is
a
cooler,
cooler dude.
Michael B. Jordan or Mark Ruffalo?
What's cooler, Michael B. Jordan shooting the Tommy gun at vampires and sinners, or Mark Ruffalo in Task drinking booze out of a plastic Phillies cup? I mean, Slade, you're a Philly guy, you know, right?
He's dead. He's dead split.
It's Ruffalo. It's Ruffalo.
All right.
Go ahead.
Up next, I'm going to say the guy, and then I'm going to say the movies that made me think, okay. And then we're going to be like, wait a second, what happened here?
Yeah.
We've got, this was a hot man for a while. Glenn Powell, of course, stole Top Gun. Like, I think he was the main thing people were talking about, second to Cruise. And then Hitman, which you and I both loved, was a sort of Netflix exclusive thing. He plays a bunch of different sort of mini characters in it. Really has great charisma and chemistry with the female lead in it. I just thought it was a really winsome movie. But then what came up next was Anyone But You, which was a little bit more known for its press tour with Sydney Sweeney, their sort of pseudo relationship. Twisters, which was a blockbuster, but, you know, kind of a reimagining of a 90s film. Running Man, which, you know, hasn't exactly set the world on fire. And then Chad Powers, the Hulu show where he plays a quarterback in prosthetics.
Glenn Powell's a movie star. I'm pretty resolute in that. Hitman sort of sold it for me. And in terms of his ability to carry a movie, he's steals the show in Top Gun. I mean, you know, it's Cruise's movie, but he really has a lot of scene stealing moments. Twisters I saw, you know, solid, you know, B- movie. He's an A+. He's just awesome. I really love Glenn Powell. I do think there is some viewer fatigue. I think with Chad Powers and Running Man, it was like, okay, we've had a lot of Glenn Powell crammed down our throat. I think with the Running Man choice, you're partnering with Edgar Wright. It's Stephen King IP. It should have been a slam dunk. And you know, for whatever reason, box office critical acclaim. I just didn't have much interest in seeing it. I'll maybe see it when it comes on streaming. And then Chad Powers, that's just a deal he made before he got super big.
Yeah.
So I think with Glenn Powell, it is movie star. I don't think he's in movie star jail. He hasn't made that many bad decisions. And I do think, though, in the next couple of years, you need to see a big critically acclaimed hit that's got to make a lot of money, and he's got to be holding it down. I do think he is leading man material. I really like him in the Top Gun type role where he's kind of a villain. Like, that is just a really fun, juicy role to play. You sometimes, as a handsome actor, it helps to play weirdos. Jacob Elordi playing Frankenstein's monster would be a good example of this. It just kind of helps to play villains or weirdos. It just makes you a little more interesting as an actor. If you're super duper handsome, you kind of play against that or sort of use it as fodder against the protagonist. But yeah, I really like Glenn Powell. I'm drinking the Glenn Powell Kool-Aid. If he was a stock on the NASDAQ, I would buy it up. I do think in the next few years he's just going to keep ticking up. And yeah, he definitely needs another Hitman type movie. He needs, you know, kind of keep partnering with the great directors, keep getting the hits out there. But I really like Glenn Powell. I think that's kind of where Austin Butler is kind of headed. I think Glenn Powell it took him a little longer to get there in terms of his age, but once he hit immediately, whereas Austin Butler's having kind of like a slower climb. But I think both guys are kind of in the same vein, both super duper charming, got the ability to do comedy as well. So yeah, I really like Glenn Powell, movie star.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Glenn Powers Chad Powers, Glenn Powell as Chad Powers could bear fruit in the future. I see a movie where he plays a quarterback. I think
Yeah.
him as a quarterback
Yeah.
is great.
He's getting older.
Yeah.
He's definitely getting older. I mean, he's knocking on the door of 40.
But,
He
you
still
know,
looks
40's the new 30.
good. Yeah, that's true. That's true. These Hollywood
Yeah.
docs, they can give
Yeah.
you the Kris Jenner face,
If
and
they
you're
were-
back to 30 again.
If they were to adapt the Cowboys of the 90s, I think he's
yeah.
Aikman with a bullet.
And then give Michael B. Jordan Michael Irvin. I
Oh,
mean,
man.
that's a movie we're talking about
greenlight
now.
that sucker.
Yeah, Emmett Smith. I'm thinking Daniel Kaluuya. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Not the
We'll
right
figure
body
it
type.
out.
That's okay. All right. Moving on to another, someone who I think is the poster child for viewer fatigue, and that is Jennifer Lawrence. Of course, did Silver Linings Playbook, massive hit, very excellent performance, and The Hunger Games, which I think puts you in that stratosphere. But recently, she went away, of course, for quite some time, and then her most recent film is Die, My Love. She was in Don't Look Up, the McKay movie on Netflix, Mother, which is about as controversial as it gets, and then American Hustle, where I thought she was the best part of a rather confused movie.
Yeah, she's both. She got minted early, super early. I think she won the Oscar when she was like 23 or something. Just totally crazy. I saw there's a movie where she's hired to like hook up with a guy who's going to go to college, so he doesn't go to college at Virgin. I'm spacing
No hard
on the-
feelings.
No hard feelings. That's it. There's a scene in that where the boy is playing Man-Eater by Hall & Oates on a piano at a very fancy restaurant, and he's doing like, it's just, she's kind of like encouraging him to come out of his shell. And there's this shot where it kind of pushes in on Jennifer Lawrence watching him and sort of kind of falling in love with the boy. And just her face welling up with emotion, selling this very silly moment in an okay comedy. That was kind of the moment I knew movie star. Like when you can be in an okay movie and just be A++. I mean, you go back and watch Silver Linings Playbook, and again, it was viewer fatigue at the time with all the stuff she was in. She is so good in that movie. She is so prolifically good at such a, prodigiously good, I should say, at such a young age. As she gets older, I'm curious what the choices will be. I think she'll age very well in terms of her acting abilities. She just has a very like youthful appearance, and I think she just looks more interesting now than she did in kind of the American Hustle, Silver Linings Playbook days. I think she's like a mother. She's married. She just looks more interesting in a very positive way. She's lived more life. She just looks more fully a woman, and I think that'll just make her more interesting as a screen presence. I felt that in No Hard Feelings. I'm curious to see Die, My Love. But yeah, she's both. She really is a master of technical acting and just has tremendous screen presence. So I really think she's both. And I really don't think it's 60-40 or 70-30. I think it's just a dead even 50-50 split. Heck, I watched her on TBS in the mid-2000s on the Bill Engvall show and thought she was pretty darn good. So it's been awesome. I've been watching her for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And just to see her go from Bill Engvall's show to, could get nominated for an Oscar, whatever she wants. That's the true hallmark of like a movie star, great actor too. Like it's Meryl Streep-like, where it's just like, if I'm in something, if there's a lot of press around it, it's kind of, big budget, I'm going to get nominated. Like I could just turn it on and get nominated.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool.
I think she got kind of like plugged into the light socket that is fame, and it just like totally overwhelmed her and was like, and she's spoken about this too. I think she has a really cool now, especially in the interviews that she's given, this like self-awareness where she at first was sort of lost in the thrill maybe of everything. You got Jack Nicholson flirting with you on the red carpet at the Oscars. I mean, you're just like, you're completely in. And then now she's kind of been able to maybe even take a step back and have some reflection and stuff like that, which I think is going to lead to some very interesting work coming up. Okay, I got one more before we hit the break here. Her partner in Silver Linings Playbook, Brad Cooper.
Yeah, both. I think it's pretty 50-50 too. I do think he's a really solid technical actor. He's very good in Silver Linings Playbook. I saw American Sniper. He's pretty good in American Sniper. He's pretty good in American Hustle. Trying to think what else he has been in. Do you have some listed there?
Of course, A Star Is Born.
Phenomenal.
Absolute movie
probably
star
his
in
best
that.
Role, yeah.
Nightmare Alley.
Awesome.
Absolute. And then, of
Incredible.
course, this is the one. There's a couple, too, here. This is the one that I think really put him on the map. Obviously, The Hangover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I think this was the one where it's like, oh, wow, he's really got a different gear. The first episode of the last season of The Righteous Gemstones.
Yes, that was really special. Really, really special. Yeah, I would say Nightmare Alley, probably my favorite movie he's been in. Star is Born, probably my favorite performance of his. As an actor, man, if you're like, oh, man, I get to play like a hot, aging rock star with a booze and pill addiction like that is just licking your chops, knife and fork, gobble, gobble, right? Yeah, man, I love Brad Cooper. He's awesome. He's another guy, kind of like Glenn Powell, who kind of hit a little later and kind of had like that slow build. So that's why you can't judge people too early once they hit, right? Like Brad Cooper hit with The Hangover, and, you know, it was another, 3 years until he got Silver Linings Playbook, and then in between there, The Hangover 2 is fine, and The Hangover 3, and there's some like misses, right? Yeah. But yeah, he, to me, I guess if I had to choose one or the other, he probably leans a little more movie star-ish than great actor. I think he is very serious as an actor and takes it very seriously, as all these people do. But I do think he has just kind of a natural charisma and coolness. There is a 10% corniness to him, much like with Michael B. Jordan, but I really enjoy Bradley Cooper. I think he's very versatile. You know, he had kind of a small role in the P.T. Anderson movie, Licorice Pizza. It would be cool to see him kind of continue to partner with big name directors, as we've mentioned. Like he's done David O. Russell, Guillermo del Toro. It'd be interesting to see him in like a Scorsese or Tarantino movie. Something like that would be kind of cool. Gosh, do I sound like a white guy on a podcast or what? But yeah, I really like Brad Cooper. He's part Irish, part Italian, much like us. It's why we all look so similar.
Yeah, we're dead ringers. Well, before the face work. I think part of what Brad, I think, is interesting about him is he is not content, I don't think, to be even thought of as a great actor or movie star. He also needs to be, I'm the one man, like, directing, producing crew as well, which I think got him into trouble with Maestro. I think it wasn't a movie for my brother and I. It wasn't our cup of tea. And then I also think it's interesting too that he has like part of maybe the thing that's paid the most paychecks for him is the 6 hours he's given to voicing a raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which I think he just does have like a very interesting, varied career. And to your point, I think seeing him with some really big name directors, if I were to be selfish, I would like to see him lean more into being that movie star, great actor. Let's build on the skills that you have, the work that you've done, as opposed to he really does want to get this directing stuff off the ground, which I think is cool too. But I just really think, man, you've still got such a great presence on screen. I'd like to see in front of the camera instead of behind.
We talked about handsome guys kind of playing the villain too. He is so good at playing the sleaze bag, the villain. This is something like Michael B. Jordan I do not think would be especially good at. He is like a good guy leading man. It's part of that corniness, right? It's just like he needs to be the good guy. I don't believe him with too much edge, right? Even in like Black Panther, it's kind of one of the issues with his performance. Whereas Brad Cooper, very easy to buy him as a villain. Yeah. Very easy to buy him as sleazy. There's this new movie coming out, Is This Thing On, with Will Arnett, and he's in it, and he directed it, and his character's name is Balls and has like a goatee. Again, I've not seen this movie, but I would guess he kind of plays a sleaze bag in it, and I'm excited to see it. So I like Brad Cooper, the director. You know, A Star Is Born's great. Maestro, technically impressive, but just as a movie, not very watchable. I'm curious to see the Arnett movie, and just to see where he goes. I heard he's working on a new project as well. But yeah, I think you know, another question can be, will he be a great director? And it's like, well, he kind of needs another great film in order to do that, at least one more great film. So interesting conversation moving forward.
Yeah. Well, with a name like Balls, you know, you're going to provoke conversation. All right. Well, we got 3 of the absolute all-timers right after the break. Okay. These these next three men, I believe, are part of the reason for this debate. They, it may be so obvious, maybe not, though. I'm curious to hear what you think. First up, Tom Hanks.
Both.
Both?
Obviously.
Not more than one than the other? If you had to say one slightly more than the other. Of course he's both.
Well,
these are the prime examples. I want to get into the nuance, the nitty-gritty.
I made the mistake of being, like you, very simple-minded. 90s Tom Hanks. Again, one of the greatest runs of any actor in the history of Hollywood. This is a dead 50-50 split. Maybe 60-40 actor movie star.
That's how I feel.
But he just had such presence, and there was a versatility to him, yes, but they were all Hanks. But they all had nuance. They all had specific choices. The character he plays in Philadelphia is very different from Forrest Gump, is very different from Saving Private Ryan, right? His career trajectory, too, is just fascinating with, like, the late 80s, like, kind of comedies, body comedies that he's in. And
more stinkers, I think, that people perhaps remember.
And then the, like, pretty dramatic work in the 90s, and then just kind of hitting that tipping point of, well, you can't carry every movie.
Yeah.
Like The Terminal's a good example of that. You're Russian in an airport the whole movie. I don't know, right? So it to me has felt the 21st century outside of Toy Story and a couple examples, I don't think has been the best for Hanks. And the 90s really was, I think, that kind of mid-30s into like late 40s range, which typically for a leading man is kind of the golden era. If you ask me right now, is Tom Hanks a great actor, movie star, both? Oh, God help me, I might lean neither.
Yeah.
I just don't.
His name doesn't carry as much anymore, and he's been
is-
bad in quite a few
I just
things
don't
recently.
like. It's these Apple TV movies. There's like one with him with a robot. Like I don't even know the titles. Like unthinkable in the early 2000s, we would not know the title of every single Tom Hanks movie that came out,
Yeah.
right? And I think part of it was just the era he was in and the emphasis on movie stars, and the emphasis on box office. And he's older now. He's in is probably late 60s at this point. So it's like you're not going to live forever. But it's like there's a lot of great, golden age of Hollywood actors who continued to have great, interesting roles into later age. And there's no reason why he can't. But, the last thing I really remember seeing him in was as Colonel Parker in the Elvis movie. And it was probably the worst performance I've ever seen him give.
Yeah.
A fat suit, terrible accent,
Yeah.
not very good writing. Just
It was sad. It was too bad because he's one of the best of all time.
Yeah, dude. It's just like, if you put Sandy Koufax out there to pitch in the World Series, he's just not gonna have what he used to have. Right?
He's getting taken yard every at bat.
They're gonna just get blasted.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I at this point, year of our Lord 2025, probably neither. But at one point, he was both. And I'll say this. I still think he can be both. I will do that projection of potential. I do still think he can do both. I mean, for God's sakes, De Niro did The Irishman at 79. It's one of his best performances in his entire career. Like, same with Pesci. Like, right, Pacino. I mean, it's not Pacino's best performance. He's pretty fun in it, but it's not his best performance. But these guys are in there. Like, you can still give great, soulful, interesting work. But I just haven't seen the choices from Hanks. Like, playing the Mr. Rogers movie, that's fine. But it's a lot of just kind of like, hey, it's sort of Toy Story and maybe one or two other movies. And then everything else you could kind of just forget, right?
Yeah. I'd say I lean more towards him being a great actor in his absolute heyday. However, the two things that I think make him a true movie star is the amount of times he's been guy on a doomed mission that has to save everybody. That's like a classic Tom Hanks role.
Apollo
Everything
13.
Yeah. Sully, all of it. And then the other one is what really I think made him a movie star and is the ultimate. You need a guy who is both a movie star and a great actor. Is the movie Castaway?
Oh,
where it is just
yes,
you. If it is just you, you are both a great actor and a movie star. And Hanks Hanks certainly was that.
And-
I think
and
the pendulum swings back and forth though with him.
And the early version of that is big. You need to be both and big. You need to be a great actor to play that convincingly, and you got to have a movie star pixie dust on you. So, dude, Tom Hanks is one of the all-time greats. I feel bad crapping on his, most of his body of work for the past 25 years, but I am very hopeful for him. I would love to see him in a great movie. I think I speak for millions of people where we would want nothing more than to see Tom Hanks in a really great movie again, but it just feels like it's been forever.
The Academy is dying to give him an award late in his career. Everybody rises to their feet.
Yeah,
he wipes one tear away, gives a speech about the beauty of acting.
And it seems like people are happy to kowtow and sort of say, oh, Sully was a great movie, or all these movies he's doing where he's giving fine performances are great movies, but it's just like, compared to what he's done and just what we know he's capable of, it just frankly hasn't been up to snuff. I'm sorry. I love Hanks.
Yeah, it's hard to watch LeBron miss a dunk when you're used to him flying above the rim.
Absolutely.
All right, here's the next one. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, both.
Both. Let's dig into it. Of course they're both. All of these guys I'm going to say are both in the last part here.
What's the point then? Do you understand the exercise? It's supposed to be difficult to determine.
Well, that's
which
what I'm
one they
saying.
are.
What is it? Well, what is he? They're both, but where does he lean more towards? I have a very nuanced take.
Let's hear
for
your
Leo.
nuanced take, and I'll react to it.
I think Leo is a great actor when he is in movie star roles. I think when he tries to do stuff that's a little bit more like indie or great actory, such as in The Revenant, where he's kind of doing this like more of a method thing, it's like a little too much, or in something like The Departed, where it's a little bit more gritty, there isn't as much sort of movie stardom about the character that he's playing necessarily. It's a very sort of working class Boston guy. But on something like One Battle After Another, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Titanic. These are movie star roles that Leo crushes and really gives his full sort of like great, all of the ticks, all of the things that make him excellent.
An actory approach to movie star roles. I would say that's right. I would say when the role requires too much actorness, too much, big screaming matches and intensity and high drama and these sorts of things. He's best when there's a streak of comedy.
Yes.
He is Titanic. His character has a streak of comedy. Same thing with Once Upon a Time and One Battle. Like he's very, very funny in all these movies. He has these moments of great comedy. He's more interesting than ever now in terms of his looks. I think he looks his most interesting now. He's sort of slowly evolving into Jack Nicholson. The hairline is creeping up. He's a little pudgier, a little more like sinister looking.
I think he went to Turkey. I think that hairline. It's not going to go too far back.
He's kind of the heir to the Nicholson throne, which Nicholson was a perfect 50-50 split. He's one of the greats of all time, but. Yeah, I would like to see, I really like Leo and Django as well. I would like to see him kind of, now that he's just crushed basically every single leading man role there is. He does this a little in Killers of the Flower Moon, but it was just kind of too unlikable of a character, even though Django is like, Calvin Candy's the most unlikable of any character.
He wasn't unlikable enough, I felt.
Maybe that was
Killers
it. Yeah,
he was in a weird middle ground, and it's also like, I know he's handsome, and they're saying he's handsome in the movie, but this is like the ugliest he's ever looked on film. So it's like kind of that was just a difficult film.
Yes, that's for many reasons a difficult film that I'm curious to see how it'll age. But yeah, I'm just curious to see him keep getting older. I look back at his filmography and it's like since Wolf of Wall Street, I think he's only made like 5 films, maybe, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of just doing a movie every 2 years on average, which is good. He's selective. He keeps the personal life pretty private. And I just really like watching him. He's old Chalamet at this point. Chalamet is young him.
Yeah.
But I think your analysis is correct. He gives great acting performances in these sort of movie star roles and imbues them with the great tics and such that you mentioned. When too much is asked of him in these kind of dramatic roles, I don't find him as watchable. But yeah, a little streak of comedy, big name director, big film, there's no one better in town.
He's number one. The anecdote you brought up, Chalamet. There's an anecdote that Chalamet brought up recently where he had to shave his head for the Dune movie, and Chalamet said that he got a text from Leo that said, "You shaved your head. Say it ain't so," because it's like Leo has had great hair his entire career. Chalamet, I think, his main, I would say, most attractive feature is that luscious head of hair that he has had, and I think Leo, it's almost like, what are you doing?
It'd be like if I put brown contact lenses in. I got my baby blues. What am I doing? Why would I do that? Right?
Yeah, it's like you got to use all the tools. I think, when you're young, you don't really appreciate, like, I've got everything going. I can lose this one thing that I've got going for me. It's no big deal. When you're old like Leo, you're like, you got to hold on to everything you got as long as you want. So for astute listeners of the pod, that is 10. We promised you 10. You brought this guy up. I just kind of want to float him as sort of a coda here as the final note. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Nicholson. He's the ultimate both. He's who we could have mentioned with Meryl Streep, Denzel Washington. Nicholson, historically, probably all time, is my favorite Hollywood actor. I just think he is so funny. I think he is so unpredictable. I think his choices are so interesting. He plays heroes like villains and villains like heroes.
Yeah,
he famously said he smoked pot every day for 30 years, and it's what gave him that very slow and distinct speaking style. And like, just there are so many mythological stories like that about Jack Nicholson. The woman he thought was his sister was actually his biological mother, and that created his distrust in women, and is why he had all these affairs and never settled down. And just the personal life was fascinating. The films are just unbelievably iconic. One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining. These are kind of, the ones at the top. There's just countless others. And he aged in a very interesting way. His later roles, like About Schmidt, The Departed, they were just very, very solid. And just, as solid a leading man as he was a supporting actor, could totally do both, won Oscars for both. For me and my money, like, he's tops. And he's so too of an era where he has kind of those sharp teeth and the receding hairline, and he's not like as conventionally attractive as you would maybe think. But, like, he's not as attractive as Michael B. Jordan, but he's cooler.
Yeah.
And he's sexier than Michael B. Jordan, even though the hairlines don't compare, right? Like, that's, again, another example. It's just what you do with what you're given and just how you can carry yourself. Sexiness, coolness. These things aren't based on looks. They're purely based on presence. And no one had a bigger, more charismatic presence, I think, than Mr. Jack Nicholson.
No, paired with a unbelievable talent for acting.
Yes,
like, just an absolute natural actor, can do, as you said, truly anything. The behind the scenes footage of The Shining, where he's psyching himself up to do the thing where it's not fully method acting, but it's like, man, he's working. Like, he is doing his job right here.
He was a total craftsman. He wasn't someone who thought you could pray to the gods and channel mysticism in order to be an actor. It was just like, all right, what does this scene demand of me? I'll work at it like a craft, like I'm a carpenter or a cobbler or any other craftsman. I'll just figure out what's required of me, and I'll do it. I'll become whatever you need me to be. I'll do whatever is required to do the job. So yeah, good. We could end with this ode to Jack Nicholson, one of my absolute favorites. He's the man.
The ultimate great actor.
Still alive, too, which is
star.
incredible. He's getting up to his 90s now, and it's always so sad. The paparazzi always get a picture of him, like, every couple of years, and it's like, here's sad Jack Nicholson in his mansion. He's 80s, and, nobody's married him and stuff. It's just like, Jesus, leave him alone. Like, the guy has, like, dementia, and, he's at, like, the SNL 50, and he clearly is, like, an old guy who has lost a step, and it's like, he just gave us so many memorable films. He wasn't exactly a Boy Scout, but his work and his legacy live on. It's like, hey, just kind of appreciate that. And if you're a young actor or interested in acting, you can learn so much from him. And he's just such a joy to watch. I'm lucky I was alive on Earth the same time Nicholson was making movies.
Hey, well said. And he's going to live forever through those fantastic masterpieces that he has given us.
Yes.
All right. Why don't you wrap it up since I don't have the closing monologue memorized?
You got it, buddy. Please subscribe, comment, and leave a rating. Send questions, comments, or big idea suggestions to our business email, flynnbrospod@gmail.com. Thank you to our producer, Will Slade, and we'll see you next time on the Flynn Brothers Podcast. Take care, buddy.
Nobody, you take care.